Hey guys, Ryan K here at ZZP. Today we're going to be installing these big old mamma jammas, these 6-piston calipers to replace these 4-piston ones that come on the CTS stock. It's going to be a little bit more in depth than your regular brake job, but once you get into it, you'll see how easy it is. Very simple, just a couple cuts here and there, and the end result is night and day. Let's get into it. So first thing we're gonna do is get this caliper off, and it's 2 bolts holding it on. It's pretty simple. So we're gonna get in here. A little stuck. There we go. Move your caliper off the way. It just takes a little bit of a wiggle. Just like that. What you're gonna wanna do is hang this caliper too so it's not resting on the brake line itself. You can use some mechanics wire or anything to hang that, zip ties, whatever you need. Just hang that, get it up so it's not pulling on the brake line itself, especially you guys in Michigan like us with the Rust Belt. Those lines don't last as long as they do in California. That's all I'm saying. Next thing we're gonna do here, we're gonna get this old rotor off. I like to do T30. Give her a couple taps. A lot of people struggle with these. Give her a couple taps, watch this. Boom. Right there. Boom. Rotor's off, caliper's off. So next part is the hardest part of the job. Everything else is easy, besides blading the brakes. So we're gonna take this shield, dust shield in the rear, and we're gonna cut it. You can cut it with a grinder, you can cut it with a Sawzall, whatever you need. You can take it off. It's 3 10 mils to take it off. I like to leave it on, leaves a little bit of extra protection for us in the Rust Belt, and everywhere else leaves a little, I mean, it's a dust shield, so it keeps the dust and everything off of there. So we're gonna take this, and we're just gonna cut this straight down with that bolt hole. Just right like that. That's the only cut we need to make on the front here. Gonna take this and cut it straight up. Next thing you want to do is make sure your caliper fits before you put anything else on. Should be good, but once we made our cut, just double check it.
Thank you.
So we're gonna throw our caliper on, and as you can see, that cut that we just made, now it's out of the way. Perfect. And you can do a fancier cut. You can do it at an angle right here if you want, if you hold your caliper up there and decide how to do it. But this is the easiest way I found to do it. Keeps everything up out of the way. Nice and easy. Easy cut. Oh, big old rotor. All right, here's your new rotor here. And it's coated, so there's no need to spray it off or anything. You can throw your whole new rotor on, just like that. I like to throw my little alignment bolt back in, just to hold that all together. Now, since you made all your cuts, shouldn't hit anything. Backing plate should be good. Next thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this shield off. say shield, but this little cover off so we can access the actual brake line itself. And then we're gonna put the new caliper on. And we're gonna hang the new caliper over the rotor with the new pads and everything installed. And we're gonna do the brake line last, just so we don't get any fluid on the new caliper or anything. So then it's up out of the way. You can do it over here, and it's super easy. There's a couple 15s. There. Got one here. Just like that. And that gives us access to our brake line because we need a little bit, with these calipers, we need a little bit longer brake line. So it comes in the kit. This rotor, just grab it and spin. Gives me a little bit more room to get to where the caliper bolts are. So next part is one of the easier parts. I mean, you're just bolting your caliper back on with the 2 new supplied bolts. And there's 2 different size bolts that come in the kit for the front or for the rear, depending on if you got the whole kit, just the fronts, just the rears. So they're gonna be the bigger ones. I mean, obviously the other ones aren't gonna screw into these, the 6-piston calipers. So yeah, just the bigger ones that come in the kit. And we can put our pads and everything on later. I'm just throwing this one on first, just to get the caliper hung out of my way a little bit. There's one. There's 2. Run 'em home. Like to give them a little bit of an extra tight. There we go. Caliper is on. I'm gonna throw the pads in and all this stuff. We'll show you how to do that quick. These can technically bolt up. The calipers can technically bolt up on the other side. And then this one could bolt up on that side. That one could bolt up on this side. All you gotta look for on these for orientation is just make sure the bleeders are up at the top. Obviously, so the air can escape. You don't want the bleeders to be on the bottom. So that's the main thing to look for on these calipers. But so these pads are pretty dang similar to the original ones on the car. It's just got a couple different things just because they're bigger. The actual design of them is a little bit different, but they're pretty similar. They go in just like factory. I just like to put a little bit of lube on the surface that they ride on. There's one. Just a little bit on either side. Oh yeah, nice and simple. So this part is the part that's going to be a little bit different. So you have your hardware, then your pins. So it's a little bit different, obviously. Instead of just having 2 pins and your actual brake hardware, you got the 2 pins, you got another pin, and then you got the actual spring or whatever you want to call this on there too. So I'm going to throw this on first, actually. It's a big old pin. If it'll go in, there we go. There we go. Just like that. Got your bolt that goes into the back. Already has some Loctite on her. Okay. So your actual spring for the brakes, this part always goes up. So as you can see this way, it don't fit right. Then this way fits in there very nice. So throw one of these pins in there. And this part is almost identical to how the factory ones are installed. You just got your 2 pins, just like that. There we go. Then we're gonna want to tap those pins in until they bottom out. I like to use a little tiny screwdriver because it helps me get in there more. There we go. There's one. Got it here at bottom out. Perfect. All right. Now we got to remove this caliper and actually take the brake line off itself. So it's just a little 11 mil for the back of this caliper, and it's gonna sit there and drip. So you wanna put a drip pan or something underneath it, because your actual fluid, your brake fluid, is just gonna sit there and drip until you get that line replaced. So I'll show you how to do that. Just a little 11 mil here. Just like that. There she starts leaking. Now our kit does come with new supplied washers and a bolt for the caliper. I'm just gonna thread that in right now so I have it. Then there's another 10 mil up here that holds the actual brake line, the rubber hose. And then there is a 13 mil right there. And then for your fitting, and then all you gotta do is take this little clamp, hook, whatever you wanna call it, off. This one's pretty easy. Just like that. Just wedges itself in there. Now, take this brake hose loose. And there's a couple plastic clips too. There's little plastic clips, pretty simple. Stick a pick down there, pop them up. Same with this one. Just like that. That gets your wheel speed sensor off the brake hose. Take your little 10 mil off. Save that girl for later. So now, as you can see, brake hose completely loose. We just got to take this one little, your fitting off. There we go. Actually locks into position. There we go. Then you just unthread the fitting. Pretty simple. Just like that. Here's a hose. This is what I was talking about by locking in And you can leave that clip on, the retaining clip that holds it on together, and then back that nut out, that fitting. But it just locks in. So here's your new hose. What you're gonna wanna do is take these pieces of rubber and move them all the way up. And these pieces of rubber are just so those plastic clips can have something to bite on. Now you can move this all the way up. Now this will attach to the factory spot. This goes into your factory spot. Route it just like it came off. I like to put that little 10 mil back in first. Just like that. Boom. Painting clips back in. Now you can start threading your hard line into that soft line. Here's your new bolt, new crush washers. And you're gonna want this line refacing up. Just like that. So up out of the way. Then you can tighten your crush washers down. There we go. Just like that. Just want to hold that backer, tighten it down till it stops. There we go. Looking good. Last thing we're gonna do with this brake hose here is, obviously you want this rubber piece, that's why we moved them up. And you got these little plastic clips. I'm gonna take some pliers. Just grab these clips. Throw them on. There we go. Just like that. All right, fronts are installed, and I'm gonna leave this little inspection cover completely off, so when we go to bleed the brakes later, I can make sure there's no leaks or anything. But fronts are done. As long as you got everything tight, fronts are put together, and then once we get the rears on, we'll go ahead and bleed everything. But we're gonna head to the rear now. I'll show you how to put the rears on, because they're a little bit more extensive in the rear. You gotta cut a little bit more things, but still simple. But you definitely wanna have a grinder or a Sawzall or something on hand to be able to cut those dust shields, because the rear dust shields don't come off as easy as the fronts. The rears, you can either take the whole wheel bearing assembly apart and take the dust shields out, but I'd recommend just cutting them. That way you still got a dust shield and you still have the right spacing on your rotor. But let's go to the rear and I'll show you how to do that one. So the rear's pretty much like the fronts, obviously. You're gonna wanna take your rotor off, take your caliper off. Pretty simple. Once we get the rotor off and the caliper off, I'll show you where it becomes a little bit more extensive amount of work, but still pretty simple. So obviously take your rotor off. And loosen up your caliper bolts. Just like that. Again, we're just gonna wanna hang this caliper. Wiggle her out. Boom. Just like that. Rotor. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit more extensive. So this backing plate doesn't come off unless you take the whole wheel bearing assembly out. It's a lot of work on these cars. We're just gonna cut it. The way you cut these is you take this outer lip and you just make it flat. So I'm gonna cut along this whole outer lip. Okay. So we're gonna cut along this whole inner edge, and we're gonna cut this lip right off. And then we actually have to cut this inner lip off. So here, so this kind of tucks in, it kind of curves in. So we're gonna wanna make this straight. Same with this one. I wanna make it straight. And then we're gonna cut this lip right off to where it's about flush almost with this brake shoe. So a little bit more cutting on this. It cuts pretty easy, so Sawzall or something can cut it. But yeah, still pretty simple, but there's definitely a lot more cutting here. And we'll get started on cutting that, but obviously cut all this, cut here, cut there, and then on this one we're actually gonna spray a little bit of paint on it. You don't have to, but just keep it from rusting. We're in Michigan here, so spray a little bit of black paint on the edges that we cut. We cut a lot more on this, so gonna do the same with the front as well, just that little lip that I cut there. We're gonna spray some paint on that too afterwards, but that's up to you. Especially if you're planning on taking these off, it's just a lot more extensive. But you can take these shields off, but we're gonna cut them because it's a lot more work goes into taking them off than it is just to cut them. So we're gonna start cutting them. All right, cut along this inner here. Bigger chunk out of that one, but she'll be fine. Clean it up. All right. Next thing I'm gonna do is take my little grinder here, and I'm just gonna clean up all these edges, make them round, make them so they look factory. And we're actually gonna grind down this lip too, like I was talking about. It's a lot easier just get in there with this than it is with that. Big grinder, but all right. Whew. Throw some paint on it, and we're good. I'm just gonna paint this, but see what I did is just kept this almost flush with the actual pad itself, with the shoe. And I'm just gonna throw a little bit of paint on here so this don't rust. Oh. Okay. So, beautiful. That's all we were trying to do. So this should work perfect. Obviously, make sure the backing plate doesn't hit. Oh, we're beautiful. Plenty of room. We want to just see here. That's a pretty decent sized difference. All right. Beautiful. That holds your rotor. So same with the front. We're gonna start throwing this new caliper on. Comes with supplied bolts. They just have a little bit of a shank on them, and they're smaller, so these bolts won't fit in the front calipers, so they're pretty hard to mess up. And pretty simple. You want to make sure your bleeders are pointed up. Make sure they're on the right side. There we go. Got both of those started. I'm gonna tighten them down. All right. Can't see nothing. All right. One. There we go. Cool. Oh, beautiful. I like it. Looks great. I like it a lot. Now this one in the rear is a little bit simpler, actually. You do not have to use a new brake line. So we're gonna take this brake line off, this brake hose off, but we're also gonna use the supplied bolt and crush washers that come with caliper. Now this is gonna leak again. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna try to get this washer out here. This washer can be a pain sometimes. So these stock washers can be a pain. All I'm doing is using a pair of pliers, just like that, and unscrewing it. Now, the new bolt and crush washer should fit right through it. Just like that. New one's a little bit easier. Oops, sorry. All right. Now tighten that down. Now, see how there's a little bit of tension on this? So you don't have to worry about that little bit of tension. It's not super tight. It's got plenty of room. It's not yanking on it. And this is full droop, so your car's never gonna be doing this unless you're planning on hitting some massive jumps with the car. So, got your brake line, your brake hose installed. And I'm gonna throw the pads on, and we're looking almost done besides bleeding. And obviously you do the same thing with the other side, but it's identical. Cut at the same places, everything bolts on the same, everything's identical. So I'm gonna get those pads in so they don't have that extra pin, and pretty simple. I mean, it's just like factory Brembos. It's like the fronts, how the fronts would be if they were stock. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of lube on here. Just like that. Just where the surfaces ride. They just slide in. And this can go either way, so that's a little bit different than the fronts. Just like that. Just like that. Tap them in again. All right. There's one. And there's two. The other side is exactly the same on fronts and rears, so they're identical. So all we're really gonna do here now is all you're gonna do is just bleed the brakes now, and that part's pretty simple. Work your way from the rear to the front. Obviously have somebody pressing down the pedal. Pump it and then hold, crack that bleeder loose, start from the inside, work your way out, and then start from the rear of the car and then work your way forward. This whole process is a little bit longer than your regular just pad and rotor swap. We understand that. But these brakes are night and day difference when you want stopping power, especially if you're going to the track, if you're going anywhere, just around the street. Anywhere, it's gonna be a night and day difference. You're gonna love it. You're going from a 6-piston or from a 4-piston to a 6-piston, night and day. It's gonna be amazing. And they look good. I mean, you can't go wrong. They're beautiful. A lot bigger, a lot more stopping power. You're gonna be able to do more with these brakes. You're gonna be able to go to more events, do more things, and be confident that the car is gonna stop when you want it to. So I think that's gonna be it for me today. I don't think we need to show how to bleed it. There's a lot of processes online. There's a lot of people online that can show how to bleed brakes. That's a normal procedure across all cars. As for now, thanks for watching, guys. Ryan K at ZZP. If you like our videos, please like and subscribe. And we'll keep doing more of these videos if you guys like them. So, see ya.